The biggest risk is not taking any risk. Don't discount yourself, no matter what you're doing. Everyone has a unique perspective that they can bring to the world. Nothing influences people more than a commendation from a trusted friend. People developed planes first and then took care of flight safety. If people were focused on safety first, no one would ever have built a plane. Advertising works most effectively when it's in line with what people are already trying to do. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything. I think a simple rule of business is, if you do the things that are easier first, then you can actually make a lot of progress. If things aren't breaking, then you're not moving fast enough. People learn by making mistakes. When you want to change things, you can't please everyone. If you do please everyone, you aren't making enough progress. People can be really smart or have skills that are directly applicable, but if they don't really believe in it, then they are not going to really work hard. If you actually do something you love, it's a lot easier and takes on a lot more purpose. We're really at this point where we can take a step back and think about the next big things that we want to do. You grow more when you get more people's perspective. People think innovation is just having a good idea, but a lot of it is just moving quickly and trying a lot of things. If we want to have the biggest impact, the best way to do this is to make sure we always focus on solving the most important problems. My number one piece of advice is, you should learn how to program. The question I ask myself like almost every day is, am I doing the most important thing I could be doing? The biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks. Find that thing you are super passionate about. Move fast, take risks. It's okay to try big things. You're better off trying something and having it not work and learning from that than having not done anything at all. Move fast and break things. Unless you are breaking stuff, you are not moving fast enough. I mostly built stuff that I liked. People influence people. Nothing influences people more than a recommendation from a trusted friend. A trusted referral influences people more than the best broadcast message. A trusted referral is the holy grail of advertising. The most important thing is to keep your team as small as possible. What Facebook stands for in the world is giving people a voice and spreading ideas and rationalism. We've changed our internal motto from move fast and break things to move fast with stable infrastructure. If Facebook were a country, it would be the 8th most populated in the world, just ahead of Japan. Having two identities for yourself is an example of a lack of integrity. Our goal is not to build a platform, it's to be across all of them. The trick isn't adding stuff, it's taking away. So many businesses get worried about looking like they might make a mistake, they become afraid to take any risk. I'm trying to make the world a more open place by helping people connect and share. We should have a society that measures progress not just by economic metrics like GDP, but by how many of us have a role we find the meaningful. We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure everyone has a cushion to try new ideas. Don't discount yourself, no matter what you're doing. There's a difference between being obsessed and being motivated. My friends are people who like building cool stuff. We always have this joke about people who want to just start companies without making something valuable. There's a lot of that in Silicon Valley. I would only hire someone to work directly for me if I was willing to work for that person. I'm here to build something for the long term. Anything else is a distraction. We have a pretty ambitious goal for the world. What we think will make the web better. What we think will make all these businesses that integrate with us run more effectively. I think if we stay focused on doing that, that's really the main thing that we need to do. When you give everyone a voice and give people power, the system usually ends up in a really good place. So, what we view our role as is giving people that power. Almost any mistake you can make in running a company, I've probably made. My goal was never to just create a company. A lot of people misinterpret that as if I don't care about revenue or profit or any of those things. But what not being just a company means to me is not being just that, building something that actually makes a really big change in the world. There is a huge need and a huge opportunity to get everyone in the world connected, to give everyone a voice and to help transform society for the future. The scale of the technology and infrastructure that must be built is unprecedented, and we believe this is the most important problem we can focus on. I'd like to show an improved product rather than just talk about things we might do. Facebook was not originally created to be a company. It was built to accomplish a social mission to make the world more open and connected. In a recent survey of millennials around the world asking what most defines our identity, the most popular wasn't nationality, ethnicity, or religion. It was citizen of the world. That's a big deal. Every generation expands the circle of people we consider one of us. And in our generation, that now includes the whole world. This is the struggle of our time. The forces of freedom, openness, and global community against the forces of authoritarianism, isolationism, and nationalism, forces for the flow of knowledge, trade, and immigration, against those who would slow them down. The hacker way is an approach to building that involves continuous improvement and iteration. Hackers believe that something can always be better, and that nothing is ever complete. I think that people just have this core desire to express who they are. And I think that's always existed. Companies face a handful of different risks, whether it is competitors or different market environments. But I think that people focus way too much on competitors and not enough on their own execution. I think that more flow of information, the ability to stay connected to more people, makes people more effective as people. And I mean, that's true socially. It makes you have more fun, right? It feels better to be more connected to all these people. You have a richer life. We look for people who are passionate about something. In a way, it almost doesn't matter what you're passionate about. What we really look for when we're interviewing people is what they've shown an initiative to do on their own. I think as a company, if you can get two things right, having a clear direction on what you are trying to do and bringing in great people who can execute on the stuff, then you can do pretty well. The question I ask myself like almost every day is, am I doing the most important thing I could be doing? Unless I feel like I'm working on the most important problem that I can help with, then I'm not going to feel good about how I'm spending my time. And that's what this company is. Our work to improve privacy continues today. With a generation of younger folks who have thrived on the success of their companies, there is a big opportunity for many of us to give back earlier in our lifetime and see the impact of our philanthropic efforts. There are a few other things that I built when I was at Harvard that were kind of smaller versions of Facebook. A squirrel dying in front of your house may be more relevant to your interests right now than people dying in Africa. I started the site when I was 19. I didn't know much about business back then. The primary things that people do on the Facebook is they use it to share with their friends and the people around them in their community, and they use it to keep in touch with people. You can be so bad at so many things. And as long as you stay focused on how you're providing value to your users and customers, and you have something that is unique and valuable, you get through all that stuff. Our mission is to make the world more open and connected. We do this by giving people the power to share whatever they want and be connected to whoever they want, no matter where they are. People don't care about what someone says about you in a movie, or even what you say, right? They care about what you build. Mobile is a lot closer to TV than it is to desktop. If a product costs $10,000 or $20,000, it has limited use. This is what the first computers cost. Only when almost everyone is able to afford it will it be a real thing. When I was in college, I remember thinking to myself, this internet thing is awesome because you can look up anything you want, you can read news, you can download music, you can watch movies, you can find information on Google, you can get reference material on Wikipedia, except the thing that is most important to humans, which is other people, was not there. Today we can only hear the voices and witness the imaginations of 1/3 of the world's people. We are all being robbed of the creativity and potential of the 2/3 of the world not yet online. Tomorrow, if we succeed, the internet will truly represent everyone. People will always want more immersive ways to express themselves. So if you go back 10 years ago on the internet, most of what people shared and consumed was text. Now a lot of it is photos. I think, going forward, a lot of it is going to be videos, getting richer and richer. If you want to be free, or you want to preserve freedom for people, you both need to have laws that make it so people have freedom of speech and all the freedoms that they need. You also need to have an open governance system where people can vote and people have representation. All of my friends who have younger siblings who are going to college or high school, my number one piece of advice is, you should learn how to program. When I'm introspective about the last few years, I think the biggest mistake that we made as a company is betting too much on HTML5 as opposed to native. Because it just wasn't there. And it's not that HTML5 is bad. I'm actually, on long term, really excited about it. One of the things that's interesting is we actually have more people on a daily basis using mobile web Facebook than we have using our iOS or Android apps combined. So mobile web is a big thing for us. At Facebook, we're inspired by technologies that have revolutionized how people spread and consume information. We often talk about inventions like the printing press and the television. By simply making communication more efficient, they led to a complete transformation of many important parts of society. They gave more people a voice. They encouraged progress. They changed the way society was organized. They brought us closer together. There is something wrong with our system when I can leave here and make billions of dollars in 10 years while millions of students can't even afford to pay off their loans, let alone start a business. We all know you don't get successful just by having a good idea or working hard. You get successful by being lucky too. If I had to support my family growing up, instead of having the time to learn how to code, if I didn't know that I was going to be fine if Facebook didn't work out, then I wouldn't be standing up here today. And if we're honest, we all know how much luck we've had. Virtual reality is going to be an important technology. I am pretty confident about this. I got my first computer in the 6th grade or so. As soon as I got it, I was interested in finding out how it worked and how the programs worked, and then figuring out how to write programs at just deeper and deeper levels within the system. I don't want to be in a situation where I have to leave some other commitment, or worse, I am rude and someone else has to support my stuff. I stopped coding for Facebook a while ago. It is really important for us that people understand what the strategy is and that the real approach is to make everything social, not to build a vertical approach. Every application will be designed from the ground up to use real identity and friends. I look at Google and think they have a strong academic culture. Elegant solutions to complex problems. This is a perverse thing, personally, but I would rather be in the cycle where people are underestimating us. It gives us latitude to go out and make big bets that excite and amaze people. Virtual reality is really a new communication platform. By feeling truly present, you can share unbounded spaces and experiences with the people in your life. Imagine sharing not just moments with your friends online, but entire experiences and adventures. There are social restrictions where someone could be suppressing someone else's freedom to express themselves. Facebook is shaping a broader web. If you look back for the past 5 or 7 years, the story about social networking has really been about getting people connected. But if you look forward for the next 5 years, I think that the story people are going to remember 5 years from now isn't how this one site was built. It is how every single service that you use is now going to be better with your friends. In the olden times, privacy was good. Today people want to share. People are more open. People wait until late in their career to give back. But why wait when there is so much to be done? When I started Facebook from my dorm room in 2004, the idea that my roommates and I talked about all the time was a world that was more open. There are people who are really good managers, people who can manage a big organization, and then there are people who are very analytic or focused on strategy. Those two types don't usually tend to be in the same person. I would put myself much more in the latter camp. A guy who makes a new chair doesn't owe money to everyone who ever built a chair. A lot of the time the experts, the people who are supposed to be able to tell you what to do, will tell you that you can't do something even when you know you can. And a lot of the time it's your friends who tell you you can do it. It only took me 2 weeks to build the first version of Facebook because I had so much stuff before then. The thing that we are trying to do at Facebook is just help people connect and communicate more efficiently. I think there's confusion around what the point of social networks is. A lot of different companies characterized as social networks have different goals. Some serve the function of business networking, some are media portals. What we're trying to do is just make it really efficient for people to communicate, get information, and share information. I know it sounds corny, but I'd love to improve people's lives, especially socially. Making the world more open is not an overnight thing. It's a 10 to 15 year thing. Connecting the world is really important, and that is something that we want to do. That is why Facebook is here on this planet. We used to write this down by saying, move fast and break things. And the idea was, unless you are breaking some stuff, you are not moving fast enough. I think there's probably something in that for other entrepreneurs to learn, which is that making mistakes is okay. At the end of the day, the goal of building something is to build something, not to not make mistakes. We also have a dog. His name's Beast. He's a sheepdog. He's super cute. I love him. Right now, with social networks and other tools on the internet, all of these 500 million people have a way to say what they're thinking and have their voice be heard. So many businesses get worried about looking like they might make a mistake, they become afraid to take any risk. Companies are set up so that people judge each other on failure. I am not going to get fired if we have a bad year. Or a bad 5 years. I don't have to worry about making things look good if they're not. I can actually set up the company to create value. People often say that it is easier to predict the way things are going to be 10 to 20 years in the future than to predict how it is going to be 3 years from now. This is our commitment to users and the people who use our service, is that Facebook's a free service. It's free now. It will always be free. We make money through having advertisements and things like that. The world is changing so quickly, with mobile stuff and different platforms emerging, that I think it's more likely that the biggest competitor for Facebook is someone that we haven't heard of. What that means for us is that we should just really stay focused on what we're doing. I think people tend to be worried about every new technology that comes along. Facebook is uniquely positioned to answer questions that people have, like, what sushi restaurants have my friends gone to in New York lately and liked? These are queries you could potentially do with Facebook that you couldn't do with anything else. We just have to do it. If there is a bug in your code, then you have to drop everything you're doing and go fix it. Hollywood has nothing to do with real life. The question isn't, what do we want to know about people? It's, what do people want to tell about themselves? While we generally believe in free speech and giving everyone as much ability to speak as possible, in practice there are lots of barriers to that, whether it's legal restrictions, technological restrictions, or you can't share what you want if you don't have access to the internet. I try to shrug it off as a minor annoyance that whenever I do something successful, every capitalist out there wants a piece of the action. I made so many mistakes in running the company so far, basically any mistake you can think of I probably made. I think, if anything, the Facebook story is a great example of how if you're building a product that people love, you can make a lot of mistakes in terms of doing work and in terms of learning and evolving as a person. You just grow more when you get more people's perspectives. I really try and live the mission of the company and keep everything else in my life extremely simple. It occurred to me that building a company was the best way to align a group of people towards building something great. And it's a good organizational structure where you can really reward people. If they're building something that's good, you work with partners and reward them if the product that you're developing work well. It's a good way to get the best people involved to build something very good. Look at the way celebrities and politicians are using Facebook already. When Ashton Kutcher posts a video, he gets hundreds of pieces of feedback. Maybe he doesn't have time to read them all or respond to them all, but he's getting good feedback and getting a good sense of how people are thinking about that and maybe can respond to some of it. I think video is a mega trend, almost as big as mobile. The only meat I eat is from animals I've killed myself. On engagement, we're already seeing that mobile users are more likely to be daily active users than desktop users. They're more likely to use Facebook 6 or 7 days of the week. I hope that Facebook and other internet technologies were able to help people, Just like we hope that we help them communicate and organize and do whatever they want to every single day, but I don't pretend that if Facebook didn't exist, that this wouldn't even be possible. Of course, it would have. Berlin definitely has one of the most vibrant of the startup scenes that I have seen. Not really just across Europe, but across the whole world in terms of cities. It's an interesting dynamic. When people are connected, we can just do some great things. They have the opportunity to get access to jobs, education, health, communications. We have the opportunity to bring the people we care about closer to us. I personally don't invest in a lot of companies because I think it would be a conflict of interest, and Facebook doesn't typically either. When you give people ability to stay connected with all the people they care about, and you make it so they can express new things about themselves or in communication with other people who they care about, then you just open up new possibilities. You make it so people can stay connected in ways that they couldn't before. Openness fundamentally affects a lot of the core institutions in society: the media, the economy, how people relate to the government, and just their leadership. Connectivity just can't be a privilege for people in the richest countries. We believe that connecting everyone in the world is one of the great challenges of our generation, and that's why we are happy to play whatever small part in that we can. AI systems will enable doctors to diagnose diseases and treat people better, so blocking that progress is probably one of the worst things you can do for making the world better. Building a mission and building a business go hand in hand. It is true that the primary thing that makes me excited about what we're doing is the mission, but I also think, from the very beginning, we've had this healthy understanding, which is that we need to do both. Whenever I go to a new city, in order to help get on the right time zone and actually get a chance to see that city, I like running. If you live in an area where there is not a good school, the internet may be the best way to get access to a lot of education material. The same is true if there is not a good doctor. The internet may be the best way to get access to health. I like to pride myself on thinking pretty long term, but not that long term. I do everything on my phone, as a lot of people do. The web is at a really important turning point right now. Up until recently, the default on the web has been that most things aren't social and most things don't use your real identity. We're building toward a web where the default is social. More than 4 million businesses have pages on Facebook that they use to have a dialogue with their customers. Why are most chess masters under 30? Our strategy is very horizontal. We're trying to build a social layer for everything. Basically, we're trying to make it so that every app everywhere can be social, whether it's on the web, or mobile, or other devices. You know, you really don't need a forensics team to get to the bottom of this. If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook. I literally coded Facebook in my dorm room and launched it from my dorm room. I rented a server for $85 a month, and I funded it by putting an ad on the side, and we've funded ever since by putting ads on the side. In the future, I think you are going to want to capture a whole scene, a room, to be able to transport to that. To be able to stream what you are doing live and have people be able to interact in that space. With some of the issues around the Snowden leaks and what the NSA was doing, I think have scared people around the world, and I think in many ways rightfully so.